Decided I'm gonna lean in more and start talking about why I'm not a feminist. I don't just mean a modern day feminist, I mean I reject all feminism. So funny, some of the most hateful messages and comments I have ever got were from people who were feminists, especially male feminists, love to tell me how stupid I am and how wrong I am and comment on my looks. You know, when I think a lot of people, when they hear like the anti-feminism or the rejection of feminism, they're thinking that I believe in this like 1950s version of a housewife and that women should get back to that. I can see why you would think that because there are a lot of women who like that aesthetic and are pushing for that, but I actually reject that. I reject that time period. I feel like that time period was very, very bad for women, and if you don't like modern day feminism, you shouldn't like the 1950s either. Because the 1950s bred the 1960s and the sexual revolution. You don't like feminism? Stop idolizing the 1950s. There's a lot more context than what I can talk about in a TikTok video that has to do with this, but in the 1950s came this industrial revolution, or a little bit before then, right? But before this industrial revolution where we had all these inventions, or we had the dishwasher, we had the oven, we had the refrigerator, women worked really, really hard. Most of you on this app are probably too young, but do you realize what your great-grandmothers and great-great-grandmothers did? If you wanted to get through the winter, if you wanted your family to get through the winter, you had to make coats for them. You couldn't just go to the store. If you wanted beans, you couldn't just go to the store and get a can of green beans. You had to put so much time and so much effort. Have you ever gardened before? Like not just like a pretty like Pinteresty like aesthetic garden, but actual gardening to feed your family takes a lot of effort, and we are so far removed from that because of the lives that we live now, the simplicity that we live now. In one generation, we had women who worked so hard constantly and had such great satisfaction from their work and could see the fruits of their labor, to women who were told just stay home and look pretty and smoke cigarettes. Like, have you ever seen 1950s ads? Yeah, no wonder women felt really demeaned in those ads and during that culture at the time. On one hand, you have feminism, which it always was from the very first wave, telling you you will never be happy as a woman, you will always be oppressed, and you need to keep pushing back. That's the only way you'll be happy. Then you have the opposite pushback to that, which is this misogynistic side that literally believes women should just shut up and look pretty. Women were equals working beside their husbands. And I know feminism tells you men did not look at women as equals before feminism. That's just a factual lie. Look at the historical facts. Look at the lives that these people led. Men and women were working alongside each other.
The first reason I'm no longer a feminist is because I realized I was using feminism pretty much as a cover-up for how much I despised the male species. I don't feel that way now, but at the time, I had a lot of bitterness towards men. So I was kind of using feminism as a way to be rebellious. I didn't realize this until I started to observe other women who claimed to be feminists. And I noticed their attitude towards men. And I was like, seems like it's a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of resentment. I don't know if you are really being a feminist for the right reasons.
You want to know why I'm not a feminist? Here's why. I believe that American women in 2021 have the same opportunities to succeed as every other person in America. And the idea that women's feelings are somehow other people's fault is just...
This is why I've always said the sisterhood for women will only exist for you so long as you go along with their narrative. The second you question it, the second you have a differing opinion, sisterhood no longer is on your side. The sisterhood will now attack you. So much for the sisterhood, right? But that is what will happen to you if you don't just go along and shut your mouth, right? You will be attacked, you will be canceled. Much of what happens to men on a daily basis, right? When we don't agree with the matrix, the narrative, right? It happens to us too. But for women, this will happen to you when you speak out against what other women are speaking for, when you have your own opinion, when you use a little something called critical thinking skills, and you're able to think for yourself, make decisions for yourself, do your own research, which the Matrix doesn't like you doing, by the way. They've literally said, don't do your own research. And yes, that's Cash snoring over here, my dog. People are like Who's snoring? There you go. Cash Gizmo are sleeping right now. Yeah, so when you speak against anything that has to do with the matrix, which includes feminism, because feminism is part of the establishment, it is part of the matrix, and if you're following the ideology of feminism, you're just gullible and you're a complete NPC, and you need to think for yourself. You're dumb if you're still following feminism in 2022. There is not a single debate I've ever seen where a feminist was able to shut down why feminism should still exist in 2022. No, every single debate you get destroyed. You get destroyed by basic facts. We don't even have to deep dive. You get destroyed by basic facts. Right? Somebody could ask you, like, okay, what rights do you still not have that men have? Okay, explain the gender pay gap. Like, if somebody works more hours than this person, why do you deserve the same pay as a person working more hours, taking less vacation time, and negotiating a higher salary? You know, I mean, even when it comes to the WNBA, which is a complete joke in itself, if you look at the analytics of the WNBA, is it women supporting women? Is it women going to these games? Is it women funding the NBA? No, it is men, right? And you know, you'll be sad to hear that it's older white men, the ones that you hate so much, are the ones who are funding this entire stupid league that should have been abolished long ago. The only reason they're keeping this league alive, even though nobody is watching it, nobody cares for it, is because nobody wants to get canceled. Nobody wants to get ridiculed for this, even though financially it's a disaster. It makes no sense at all economically to keep the WNBA alive. And women themselves, these street interviews are hilarious when they interview women who are championing for like women's rights and, you know, feminism. We need the WNBA, and they're like, okay, so you're a fan of WNBA? Yes, of course, I support them. Who's your favorite player? Crickets, right? They're like, I'll get back to you on that, you know. Yeah, I mean, so many of these modern women today, especially the ones that subscribe to feminism, they're just a bunch of liars, a bunch of scam artists, a bunch of con women, right? A bunch of posers who are just hiding under the veil of feminism to act like, you know, they've discovered gold or something, like, oh yeah, I'm this new woman of the world, I'm so progressive. You know, you're just a phony, okay? You're just a phony because you know it's all one big lie. You know it has not helped women whatsoever. It's made women worse. It's made women more miserable. Their happiness has declined substantially since the 60s, since the sexual liberation started, which kind of brings me to a point about the first woman I featured tonight. She was talking about why she doesn't identify as a feminist, but she said you also don't identify as a feminist if you agree with the 1950s. Like, no, women were still happy in the 1950s, girl. What are you talking about? It's like, yeah, I'm happy you're not a feminist, but you really need to educate yourself with some of these statistics. And you can see that women's happiness directly coincide, like women's happiness declining directly coincide with when women's liberation started, aka feminism, in the 60s, mid-60s. That is when that all started, when they started encouraging women to leave their homes, no longer be housewives, and get out there into the world and, you know, go to school and get jobs. That is when women's happiness started to decline. You know why? Because they had to start dealing with something men have been dealing with all their lives, a little something called stress, a little something called pressure, right? To get it done. And hate to tell you, man, women don't do well under pressure. This has been proven. When it comes to being under pressure, women do not do very well, right? They buckle, man. They buckle. This is why I don't trust female pilots. You know, I don't trust women in the event of an emergency. I mean, I want a man in charge, or I take the reins myself. I just, no. Because under pressure, they don't do well. They panic, they get emotional, they start crying. This is just what happens, right? Are there a few females out there in the world that, you know, can withstand the pressure and step up? Absolutely, right? But I'm just saying, you know, it's sad I have to say that, because, you know, you'll always have a dummy in the comment. Be like, you're generalizing, Em. I was like, no shit, Sherlock. Of course, everything's a generalization. Everything's a stereotype, right? The reason why we have generalizations and stereotypes is because generalizations and stereotypes are generally true. and accurate, right? Of course, there are going to be some outliers out there. There's going to be one or two chicks out there who don't buckle under the pressure. But you know, I'm not going to risk my life hoping that I have an outlier as the captain of my ship or my airplane. I'm not going to be crossing my fingers that, you know, hopefully she's that 1% of outlier females that can handle the pressure because the plane's going down. No, I'm just going to assume based on the odds that 99% of the time, 99% of the women who can't handle the pressure is probably going to be in the cockpit. You know, I don't want to take that gamble. If you want to take that gamble with your life, go right ahead. I don't bet on possibilities. I bet on probabilities, right? I bet on something that is likely going to happen. That is how I invest my money, for example. I'm not going to bet on the possibility that this coin is going to go to the moon. I'm going to bet on the probability that it's not, right? And I actually did a very good video on why I did not buy Bitcoin last year when it was at its peak, and why I was not investing in crypto. It's on my Alpha Male Secrets channel. And that was when Bitcoin was at its, it was like in October of 2021. It was pretty much at its peak. Had a lot of guys bashing me in the comments, right? Like, with all due respect, Dan, don't know what you're talking about, man. You got to get into Bitcoin now. It's going to the moon. But as a seasoned investor, I was like, I don't see that happening. And I see this thing crashing, and I will probably buy in at probably about 6K. What? You're nuts, dude. It's going to 300K. It's going to 1 million. And see where Bitcoin is now a year later. It's like under 20. It's like at 17 right now. And I'm still waiting for 6K, which it will definitely hit. But regardless, watch that video. Because why? I don't bet on possibilities. I bet on probabilities. Right? Because the statistics were telling me, like, no. Same reason I did not buy a house last year. You guys know I was house shopping in many parts of California, and I was like, oh, I'm going to buy myself a bigger house, 3-car garage, all this stuff. And I started to back off when I saw this. I mean, no different than like Bitcoin. People were just jumping into the market, and house prices went through the roof. And everyone's like, no, now you better get in before it goes to some crazy levels. And I'm like, no, you've got to be an idiot to buy at the top of the market. I'm like, I'm not buying anything at the top of the market. Bitcoin, homes, whatever. Turned out I was right, because now everything's coming crashing down. So, when it comes to these women, they don't like facts, they don't like statistics, but the woman we featured in the first clip tonight was saying like, oh, if you're a feminist, you reject the 1950s. Like, no, baby. The 1950s were still badass because women were housewives. They wanted to stay at home. They did not want to get out there in the working world, right? What idiot would want to leave if you have it good where you can just stay home, right? Your husband goes to work all day. You can just make lunches and dinners. I mean, obviously you're cooking for yourself too, right? And you can watch TV while he's gone, while you're making lunch, while you're making dinner. You can listen to your radio, your favorite podcast. You don't have a boss over you, micromanaging you. You don't have to get up and drive in like cold ass traffic every morning. You don't have to sit at a cubicle all your life. You could just stay home, right? Your husband takes care of everything. What type of moron do you have to be to want to get up and go, no, I think I want to go get a job too. I think I want to go to college and, you know, spend like 8 years of my life getting my doctorate degree and then go out there and, you know, put together a resume and a cover letter and then send that out and get on LinkedIn and create a profile and try to network so I could get a decent job and then kiss ass to some manager, some female manager that hates my guts and is trying to sabotage me, and then work in this office where all they're going to do is gossip about me and what I'm doing, and then I'm prettier than everybody, and then get my paycheck every week and pay my taxes and, you know, do all this stuff and not get married and stay on the dating apps and date, you know, Chad, Pookie, and Tyrone, who are just going to ghost me after they have sex with me, never hear from them again while I chase the beta males. Yeah, what a life. What a life. Who would choose that over like, hey, I got a good man, I'm married, I'm raising my kids, I get to stay home, watch TV all day until he gets back? Who would want to leave their house, right? They have it, women just had it so good, they had so many options that they choose the worst one, right? Which is to get out there with everyone. So this chick in the first video, I agree that feminism, like, glad she left, but she still has a wrong concept about why. You know, she said the sexual liberation was because of the 1950s. No, the sexual liberation happened because there was one jealous, fat, obese, gnarly looking feminist that started telling women who were prettier than her, that had it better than her, that were housewives that she was jealous of, got to stay home all day. She started telling them like, no, you're oppressed. You need to get out there and start working, right? Don't depend on your man. Because she was jealous, because she couldn't get that kind of lifestyle. She wasn't good looking enough, right? She was just jealous. And it just boils back to old female jealousy and female sabotaging of each other. Only she was able to sabotage a whole generation of women, multiple generations of women now. And because a lot of these modern women were too dumb to think for themselves, lacked critical thinking skills, were like super gullible, they bought into it. Like, yes, you're right, my husband is oppressing me by making me stay home and cook lunches and watch soap operas all day. I better get out there too and go to college and get into college debt and go find myself a corporate job so I could be free too. No, you just turned yourself into a slave, you dumbass. As always, drop your comments below. Let me know what you think of tonight's coaching video, guys. Anything you'd like to share, anything you'd like to add, please drop them in the comments below, and I will see you there. As always, this is M from the 33 Secrets, signing out here. Don't forget to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, smash that notification bell as well so that you're notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on the YouTube. More importantly, guys, please make sure that if you love my work, if you love what I'm teaching here, it's adding value to your life, if you want to help me out, jump into 7 months of mastery. You're going to get a ton of value out of it. This is my personal program where I teach you how to go out there and approach and close the youngest, hottest, and most beautiful looking women in the world. I'm talking about 8s, 9s, and 10s. I'm not talking about single moms, divorced single moms, damaged women over 30, women with 5 therapists. No, I'm talking about the cream of the crop, just young, attractive, beautiful, and very classic and traditional women who are not like modern women. I teach you where to find these girls, how to cold approach them, and how to bring them into your life. I have many successful students around the world now, many of which have gotten married and had children and had families. It's crazy, with women that are, that are beyond, let's say, a bit out of their league, to put it nicely, right? They were able to get women who were more attractive than they would normally have gotten if they hadn't been in mastery, and women that they probably would not have found if they had never gone through my mastery program and learned my teachings, right? So I teach you this stuff, and I teach you from a red pill perspective. I'm a professional pickup artist. I've been out there for the last 3 decades now. I've been coaching men since the 90s, so I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. I know how to find these girls. I still go out to this very day, and so I'm still fresh in the game, and you're going to learn a ton and get a ton out of value out of my 7 months of mastery program, right? And it's really easy to sign up. Well, right now it's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons, so take advantage of it. All you need to do is click the link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds, so do that now, and I will see you in my next coaching video.